connect and we cheer each other on. So it is something that sets the skin games apart from any other event in the industry, right? Yes, there are a lot of trade shows out there, but there is nothing that brings together the community, the love, the spirit of of lifting each other up, all the while competing for awards and notoriety. And a lot of you obviously spend so much time in the treatment room that things like social media and creating a following, releasing press releases, which we're going to talk a lot about tonight, that's an entirely different job in itself. So, like I said, we've brought together some of the biggest and best names of the industry. Dorian, Kitty, Deborah, Meg, and Robin are all here to join us tonight. They're all from different sections of the industry, magazines, and they're social media geniuses, print geniuses, and they have so many tidbits for you guys tonight, and I'm excited to get started. I want to just really quickly encourage attendees right now and anybody watching, if you want to sign up for the Skin Games text blast, text JOIN, JOIN, to, and hopefully Taylor can put this in the chat, 833-344-1998. Those are for important Skin Games updates. As we lead up to the event, we text out updates at the event and prior to the event for any and everything Skin Games related. So again, join JOIN to 833-344-1998. I've already mentioned my beautiful wife, Taylor, once. I'm going to mention her again because she deserves so much credit for what she's done. Last year, we upped our participation rate by, I think, close to 20%. Kelly can speak to that a little more, but Taylor was on the phone with players year round. She has brought players who literally had decided they were not going to do the Skin Games due to imposter syndrome or lack of confidence or fear, which we see so often. And she talked them right into it. And some of those people actually took home awards. And I've seen that in my life, as in my time with the Skin Games as well. I have countless stories of times where one of my favorites, actually, I'll share, was Tara Whitaker. In my very first year at the Skin Games, we were talking in the lobby in Jacksonville, and she was not going to do it. She's like, Steven, I can't do this. I've never waxed in front of an audience. I am not going to win that money. I'm not going to win this award. I think I'm just going to go home. She literally said, I think I'm just going to go home. I might come back. I might not. I said, please come back, Tara. At the very least, you'll grow through it. You'll learn something new, and you'll come out on the other end and go, hey, I did it. I did it. She ended up winning Waxer of the Year last year. And that, for me, was one of the pivotal moments in me, like finding what it was about the Skin Games that made me want to do this. I didn't know if I was going to love working for the Skin Games when I started doing this 5 years ago. I've fallen in love with the way the Skin Games treats its players, its sponsors, and everybody involved. And so I couldn't be more proud to be associated with this team. And I am very excited for tonight's roundtable on press releases. So again, I want to thank Taylor for putting this together and all of the work she's put in behind the scenes with players, judges, sponsors, and all of you beauty pros out there. You all have a story worth sharing. Many of you have a hard time putting that into words and sharing it, and that's what tonight's all about. So without further ado, I want to get to our very first speaker of the night. We are honored to have Dorian Reyes. She is the managing editor at Dermoscope magazine. She's risen from an editorial assistant to managing editor in just 5 years, overseeing editorial, social media, and podcasts. Tonight, she'll share how to research and pitch effectively and avoid common mistakes to get pitches overlooked. So without further ado, Dorian, I know Dermoscope's out there in Texas. We hope to see you guys at the Skin Games, but I want you to take over now, and the stage is yours.
Hi, so I'm Dorian, and Dermoscope is in Texas, but I live in Los Angeles. I'm at the West Coast office, as I call my 1,100 square foot apartment. I live in LA, but yeah. So I'm the managing editor of Dermoscope. I am producer of the Aesthetic Report podcast, and I oversee most of our social content and eBoss content. So what does that mean? It means that I get a lot of emails. It means that in between collecting and assigning content, I'm getting tons of press emails, and that's from PR firms, that's directly from brand research. And every so often, it's a cold email just from an esthetician, just like you guys, trying to get their name out there. So out of those three, I will say that the third one is by far my favorite. It's like a breath of fresh air. Like, there's life on Mars out there after I'm emailing so many people about this product and this placement and all of that. I love to hear from them. So when those individuals do reach out to me, there's obviously going to be the ones that materialize into projects and ones that kind of stay in Outlook. So what's the difference between those two? I will say there's many differences. And let me see if I can share. I've created a little checklist. So I requested so I could share my screen.
I believe Taylor's going to allow you to do that here in just a second, Dorian.
Yeah, so to start off with, when you're creating a base email, you want to be able to people to know who you are in just a
You should be
few
good. And I love your shirt.
Thank you. The dermoscope one. Let's see. Oh no, I haven't shared this in a while. There we go. Okay. It's not going to let me. Okay, so I will send it to Taylor and hopefully, but it's a really short checklist, only 5. So that's my bad. I don't have the authority to give that. That is an admin thing. Anyway, so you want to begin with just your base email, your important professional background information, your related links to your social media, your website to your business, because the last thing you want to do is get your email in front of someone who you obviously want to pique their interest, and then you want to send them on a scavenger hunt of trying them to find out, mapping you out, exactly who you are, all of that. So make sure to have that. That's the great base start. It's the easy part. He's talking about you. You guys know how to do that, surely. The second part is by far going to take up, well, no. The second part is also up for debate. So I know that I'm not technically in PR or a PR professional. So I know that maybe these other ladies have a different take on it, but I know that logistically you want to send your name to as many people out there possible, send whatever and it sticks, right? The more you get out, the more likely your chances are. If you wanted to take it back into your own hands, I would say to prioritize quality over quantity. So I would choose those media outlets that really are going to align with your goal. So whether that's within the industry, whether that's, to try to create a bigger client base, choose wisely, because the third part, which is your research, is what's going to take up the bulk of your time, right? So once you select those media outlets that you want to target, then you start your research. So it can begin super laid back, easy, just by kind of subscribing to their channels, follow them on social media, sign up for their e-blast, and actively consume their content. I will say it's really easy. Everyone scrolls at night, everyone's reading just to kind of go through emails, whatever. I would actively try to target what kind of content they're putting out, the type of the content they're putting out, and really focusing, it really surprises me. We'll put up a story to like for open press releases to try to get your spa featured. We'll put an e-blast saying, hey, who do you want to see on the podcast? Spoiler alert, you can nominate yourself, and we'll get some feedback, but for me, I think it's underutilized. We're not getting as many responses as you think. So that's what I'm saying. It might just seem kind of like, there's so much content coming at you, but that's why I say to target specific outlets and to really zero in and pay attention to what they're putting out, because there's lots of opportunity on Dermoscope's end. I can't speak for everybody else, but on Dermoscope's end, we have tons of opportunity. So super laid back, easy. Once you do start subscribing to those channels, you start pinpointing those different platforms that speak to you the most. That's when you want to start layering that into your initial email, right? That bulk email that you have with all your background information. So for instance, let's say our Instagram doesn't really do it for you. eBlast doesn't really do it for you, but our podcast really speaks to you. You listen to it every week. You love the topics, and since you've been listening, there's this topic that you really thought that you could touch on that we haven't touched on, and you have a fresh take on it. Great. Add that to your background email and say, hey, I love to be on the setup report. I want to talk about, I don't know, how networking and getting involved in community events like this have really boosted my profile. And I'd say, great, yeah, no, we haven't talked about that on the podcast. Let me run it to the team. I'm booking for November, and you're in the running to get like a free hour of air on our podcast that's listened to by thousands of professionals, right? So just little things like that. Make sure you pick your platform. It's not a wide net. It's going to be a smaller net, because while I love to hear from those professionals that are saying, hey, I don't really know where I fit in, let me know, that seems great. And I can try to, oh, well, you have this background, I can try to fit you in to maybe do a webinar, or, oh, you have this background, you have a beautiful spa, let me try to get you into a spa highlight in the print department. I don't always have the time to sit there and plug and play, right? So I love when I get those emails that are just like, hey, I read your magazine. I know specifically how I want to get involved. How do I make that happen? Another thing is that because we are an educational department or an educational platform, people think that magazine, they think like glossy cover, getting that picture in, saying, oh, this is my background and experience. And we do have those opportunities, but majority of our content is educational content. We put out about 20 articles, fresh articles a month. So that's 20 opportunities theoretically for a professional in the industry to get spotlighted, right? So it's not necessarily their career, their background, but it's a way to showcase their education. And depending on how big the article is, you get your bio, you get your headshot in the magazine, and then you might get shouted out on social media, on our website, through our e-blast. So I always say, if you are paying attention to us and you're really paying attention to the content, then educational route is going to go best for us. But of course, I'm speaking to my media outlet. Maybe that's a different case for somebody else, right? Yeah, lots of research. I understand that this probably sounds overwhelming, that you're like, I have a full-time job, I have a family to take care of. I don't have time to sit here and like following every social media and reading page by page to the magazine to figure out where I fit. And I'm here to say that you don't have to do this. All these things are not necessary to get noticed. Every esthetician that has gotten featured, that has gotten a print article in the magazine, haven't followed these exact rules. When they do, does it increase their chances? Absolutely. But sometimes things just work out and people are just in the right place and right time. So with all that, I say at least follow on social media, sign up for those e-blasts, pay attention. We have a cover contest that we do every year where we open it up in April, open applications to all licensed professionals, and that's open from April to July. And then you have the chance to win the cover of our December magazine. And that's just an application. There's no money. There's nothing. It's just you showcasing you, right? And that's exactly what we're here to do. We also do Esthetician's Choice Award nominations every year. Those are open nominations. We have them on the last 2 months of August. So we already just passed it for 2026. But again, open nominations. And yes, we feature categories and products and devices, but we also have people's categories. So we have favorite licensed esthetician, favorite school instructor, favorite contributing writer, if that's how you want to get involved. And of course, the licensed esthetician category always gets flooded, but you can really get creative and try to get your name out there in different ways, because I actually think that for the ACAs, those are super underutilized. People are not nominating themselves, or they're only paying attention once the winners are announced. So again, you would have to wait 6 to 8 months. So follow us on social media, follow us on eBlast, do the research, but regardless, we are in the business of empowering estheticians. And I want to say, yes, I want to put your press placement. I want to help your career along. I want to give you some visibility. So when you make it easy for me, or people like me, then you're more likely to get that project greenlit. So I think that's my time. I'm not sure, but
yeah, I just want to follow up with one like short question and answer, is that your great advice. First of all, I want everybody to I hope everyone's listening up. This is coming straight from the director of Dermoscope, the managing editor's lips, right? So what she's saying carries weight. And I wanted to say that I think what sets people back a lot, and I mentioned this already, is like at the skin games at least, right? Because it's so different and it's not something that they're used to, just as putting out a press release or trying to gain attention from a huge outlet like Dermoscope, is that fear of like, what if I mess up? What if they say no? What if I'm not, what I think I am, or what if I'm not good enough? What's your advice for people in the industry they're trying to fight through that. Just do it. Is because that's, I mean, a lot of times when we just put ourselves out there, I feel like that's the best way, like to be vulnerable and to be ourselves is the most effective way to come across. But do you see that? Do you have any advice for people that are sort of fighting through that apprehension?
Absolutely. So I do have an example. I actually had a girl who had just graduated from aesthetic school, and she was like, "Hey, like I just like I just want to get my name out there." And she's like, "I know that I'm not practiced. I'm really fresh to the game, but I just want you, John, I just want to introduce myself." And then she said I had a background in fashion, and that she said that she really doesn't see a lot of education on how fabric really affects the way that skin responds, whether your clothing, your bedding. And she was like, from my fashion perspective, she said, I really think that that would be a great article. And so she's like, okay, just wanted to put that in, whatever. Then I think 3 months after she was finally licensed and in a job, and she was like, hey, I noticed you haven't gotten anyone to write that fabric article. I think that I could do it if you're open to it. She said, I know that I'm not a big licensed professional. She's like, but I do have expertise in this.
Mhm.
And she got, I think it's actually live this month. And it's either this month or last month. And we did a social media post on it. It got a lot of attention, a lot of people commenting saying no, that they hadn't heard this type of kind of knowledge. And again, it wasn't necessarily that she was utilizing her lack of professional in the aesthetics arena. She was utilizing her background elsewhere. But I just really feel like that anybody has something to say. You have
Yeah,
something, you have information within you that somebody else is going to benefit from. So you just have to figure out what that is, or maybe it's kind of glaring you in the face and you're like, oh, I thought everybody knew that. And it's not the case.
for sure. Yeah. So I want to thank you, Dorian. This was excellent input. It was a great way to get us started. You guys, again, listen closely. This is being recorded. We're going to repost this, put it in our newsletter, and all sorts of things coming up. But I want to thank you for your time, Dorian. This was Dorian Reyes, guys, the managing editor at Dermoscope Magazine, live with us from LA, not Texas, LA. I got that. And we want to thank you very much, Dorian, for your time tonight.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. So that takes us into our next speaker, Kitty Lynn. Some of you may know her. She is the managing editor at Skin Inc. She's a journalist, storyteller, and editor with her finger on the pulse of cultural dialogue. Kitty will share how to frame your story so it's newsworthy and tied to trends, and how to approach press as part of an ongoing industry conversation. Without further ado, I want to introduce Kitty Lynn, managing editor at Skin Inc. We're proud to have you, Kitty. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Stephen. I'm Kitty. Hi, everyone. I'm the managing editor of Skin Inc., and I'm here to kind of tell you how to tell your story. So, as he mentioned, I am very much on the pulse of the cultural dialogue. I'm really invested in storytelling, and I encourage all of you who are pitching stories to magazines like ours, even though they're trade magazines, to think about them as stories. And so I will start by saying that a lot of the importance that we as editors find in your stories have to do with the synergy they have with other parts of that cultural dialogue. So if you want to think about it, for starters, on the horizontal level, maybe topically, the synergy that skin and spa and wellness has with other elements of the cultural dialogue, for example, tech. And we see this manifesting as, the rise of personalized skincare solutions come up. You have a lot of brands utilizing AI skincare analysis tools. You have a lot of personalized recommendations, a lot of auto recommendations and moderations of inventory when it comes to retailing in spas. And so, that is a very cool innovation. But we can see that as skin and spa talking to the technical innovations that are happening, maybe even outside of skin and spa. And so seeing that tie, I think, is a very helpful start in how we maybe view contextualizing our stories going forward, outside of purely within the realm of skin, spa, and wellness, which is very important, but I will elaborate on that more later. Another trend that we can see this in, though, is the rise of holistic wellness. And this is a rise that we have been able to see on a very sharp up ramp from the COVID pandemic, maybe because that was a time where all of us, in one way or another, were not really doing all that well. Maybe that's physically, maybe that's mentally. But everybody then shifted into a very major wellness focus, wellness became a major priority in the cultural fabric, especially among Gen Z, Gen Alpha. We see a sober curious movement. We see skincare and wellness becoming increasingly overlapped and overlaid. We see, mental wellness playing a larger role in how we think of our physical health. And so that is another means in which we can see kind of that synergistic tie between wellness and skincare and kind of the really complex interplay between the two. And then another trend I think that very much embodies these synergistic ties will be sustainability. And so we see obviously this increase in climate consciousness, not to start too heavy, but then also this demand for clean, non-toxic, shorter labels, clean label ingredients. And so we can very much see the tie between this desire for full body wellness, this worry about what we're putting into our bodies, and then by proxy, what we're putting onto our skin, and how that impacts the products that we shop for and what we ask for from our spas and our wellness professionals. And so by understanding these synergistic, like kind of horizontal ties, we can kind of see the pressures that that will put on the stories that we pitch. And not that the stories that we pitch are just stories and just, um, you know, ways of relaying information. Obviously, they're a lot more prescient and a lot more substantial than just the way that we word things. But if we can see those ties and notice those connections in the stories that we have to present, we can then kind of emphasize the strengths that we have to make sure that our stories are coming across as timely and as important and as relevant as they should be. And so another facet of this timeliness, if I've kind of laid the ground for horizontal, would be vertical. So like the evolution. So it's not only a matter of tying in trends from a topical perspective or a categorical perspective, but kind of the evolution of these trends. So being able to see where these trends have come from, where we exist in them, and where we see them going. And that can be a little bit daunting, I realize, because it's way easier to see trends that have happened and where we sit in them versus predicting where they're going. But the beauty of being in our industry is that it's not super important that we're 100% accurate. And I don't say that to mean that we should just say whatever we want. But what I mean by that is that people, because the career paths in the pro space are very much based on experience, people are going to value how you've traced these trends and why you're projecting and predicting them the way that you are. So, for example, I think the clean ingredient trend is a really interesting one. We see that, there's this increase in climate consciousness, there's this increase in full body wellness, and this increase in concern among, with what we're putting on our skin and in our bodies. And that has led us to hold brands and providers to a higher standard when it comes to transparency and what we're asking them to provide us. But in this era of product fatigue, where a lot of people are coming out with new products, we have now kind of encountered this kind of marketing fatigue, where everybody who comes out with a product who can call themselves natural and clean and non-toxic will go ahead and do so. And so now that in turn has driven a counter conversation on what qualifies clean, what qualifies non-toxic. And I think that's where we get a lot of these, this kind of influx of different certifications and different criteria and different organizations saying, this is what you need to achieve our clean bill of natural ingredients or clean ingredients. And it's within this, percentage of whatever their criteria is. But that being said, that seeing how tracing that conversation through time and kind of how we can predict people will react to someone saying one thing, you can kind of see that conversational structure come out. And I think if you contextualize your own pitch in the context of that conversation and you view it less like I'm putting out my story to see if it's approved and more like I am now a speaker in this conversation with authority, presenting my perspective based off of my expertise, my insight, that helps not only with feeling more confident, but also being able to present your expertise with a discerning, I guess, facet or angle that will get you better noticed, and kind of get your foot in the door if that's what you're looking to do. Um, in addition to this, I do think accessibility is quite important. And I do mean across different devices. I mean in terms of readability. But in addition to that, I mean in what are you trying to accomplish in the story that you are presenting? So I think it's really important. I think there's this pressure when we're pitching stories to think about it as I just need to get noticed. I just need someone to like me. That's it. Um, that's great. And it's also not quite it. I think it's really important, to think past that, like with the nuances. Are you looking to inform? Are you trying to drive sales for your business? Is it, if you want to be featured in a profile, is it because you took a less conventional route in your career? And it's really important that newer estheticians or newer spa professionals get a sense of that because I do think in the pro space, especially post-COVID, a lot of people are kind of left with this impression that there is a very A to B, one-to-one path to follow, and maybe don't necessarily know all the different ways that their career can flower, which can be quite scary and daunting. All great angles, but I think when you pitch a story, you do need to have that end goal intention in mind. Similar to when you're writing a fictional story, you need to know where the ending is in order to be able to adequately write the rest of the tale, to put the details that matter forth, to contextualize things, to command the right tone. And so I say that just to say, if you are writing to a publication that has a more specialized, more scientific, and technically adept audience, maybe you do lean more on your technical expertise more. Or if you have your own skincare line and that's what you're trying to promote, maybe you do focus on your certifications and the ingredients and the formulation more. But if you are talking more to someone who will be interested in the human side of your story, maybe you adjust that angle. And maybe even though you do have these amazing certifications, these amazing credentials, if you're not being graded on that by your audience, maybe you do focus more on how you went about it, how you felt, how you overcame some of the more personal obstacles that arose during that. Because, when we are pitching stories, even though we are trade magazines, they are still stories. So if you are trying to spread awareness about a brand, make sure that we know what's timely. And if you are trying to get people to spread the word and to talk about you or your accomplishments, make sure we feel that urgency. And if you are truly telling a story, make sure that we see that allure.
I love that, Kitty. And I want to just say, I think I have a note written down here that you are actually happy to review some of our attendees' press releases afterwards if they feel inclined to submit those.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is so cool, and we want to thank you for that. That is going above and beyond, and we appreciate that. And I can't agree more. I'm not an esthetician, okay? I'm married to one, and I have them in my family, and I talk to them on a daily basis. But one of the biggest shifts I've seen, not to go off topic, is this centralized sort of shift to the way that the skin is affected, not just by simply what you're putting on your skin, which is at one point I feel like what skincare was all about. Like, oh, what are you putting on? What's it doing? There's this shift now to the microbiome and gut health and your mindset and everything outward and external that is now affecting what you see happening on the skin and this sort of holistic shift. It's very much real. And I want to just emphasize as well, we do have a holistic category at the Skin Game. So if you guys are inclined to join it, it is a really cool category where you showcase your results during an 8-week case study with before and after photos and talk all about your holistic case study. So I do want to encourage you guys to join the holistic category. Kitty, thank you so much for your time tonight. Kitty is the managing editor at Skin Inc. magazine, and we appreciate all of that feedback. Thank you so much. All right, everyone. Our next guest of honor, they're all guests of honor, is Deborah Griffin. Deborah is the president of the Deborah Locker Group. With 3 decades of communication experience, Deborah has worked across beauty, spa, travel, and wellness industries. She'll walk us through what makes a press release more effective and how to know who to send it to specifically. So without further ado, Deborah, the floor is yours. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Hi,
Good to see you. I am actually in Louisville, Kentucky, which I know you guys are probably mainly like California's, Florida, Chicago, those sorts of places, but I'm in Louisville. I used to work for the International Spa Association, which is based in Kentucky, which I always thought was really funny because we don't have a lot of spas in Kentucky. But the association is based here, which is how I got into the spa world. But I started with the International Spa Association in 2001, which was a very long time ago. So I was their PR person for 7 years and really got to know, obviously, the spa industry, but also the skincare industry at that time. And then I started my firm in 2008. And my first client was actually Skin Authority, which is a brand that I still love to this day. I no longer work with them, but we were together for 9 years and we did a lot of good stuff together. Yeah, so I love your industry and I'm a skincare fanatic. So I was really honored to be able to speak with you guys because I totally believe in what you do. But I'm going to talk with you about press releases and then
Yes.
who you should send those to and why. Sometimes people say that press releases are dead. I don't agree with that. They have changed, they have evolved. They're not as formal as they used to be,
Mm.
but still, a writer wants to know the who, what, when, where, and why. And if you just go ahead and write it up, you're not going to have to tell them 1,000 times. So I had sent Taylor an example of a press release, and we were going to put it on the screen.
Let me see here. Taylor will put that on the screen, Deborah.
On the documents, I just shared it.
And she just shared it down there in the documents, folks. If you guys see there, it says in the group chat, Taylor has shared the document.
Awesome.
I'd like to put
Thank
it on.
you. So this is something that you guys are all welcome to take and to use. But basically, press releases are a lot easier to write than people think that they are. But again, this is your template how to do it. Put your letterhead at the top. That it shows you where to do the title. If you do a subtitle, your city, your state. The first paragraph is the most important part of a press release. It's what's going to grab the reader, which the reader is the journalist. Now, there are some outlets that you can send a press release to, and it will be put online just like it was written. So keep that in mind that your press release may be written by more than the journalist. It might be something that immediately goes online. So you're going to write that in an atmosphere that someone is going to want to read it. So in that first paragraph, you're going to want to grab attention. So, this is what XX Skincare Center is doing. And then you're going to want to give enough that if someone only has time to read that first paragraph, they have a nice synopsis of what you're doing. However, you also want to tease them to read the whole thing. So that can be a little bit challenging. I usually like to keep my first paragraph to like 3 to 4 sentences. And I really do include like the cute words up there and the fun wording and all those sorts of things, again, to grab them and get them to stay with you. That second paragraph is usually where if you are going to have a quote in there, a spokesperson quote, which I always encourage to have in a press release, those work well in that second paragraph. Also, something that works well is if you're doing an event, which you guys very well might be doing a lot of those, that information works well in that second paragraph. The third and fourth paragraphs, that's just where you give more information. So again, if you're doing an event, the third and the fourth paragraphs might be, oh, well, these are our partners in the event and we're going to have giveaways and those sorts of things. If you're talking about an award or that sort of thing, you would go on into, this award is presented by this group. This is what I've done to win it, that sort of thing. So those are just where you put more information in, again, for the reader. And then at the end of it, that's where you write something called a boilerplate. A simple way to explain what that is it's an elevator pitch. And I'm sure if you guys don't have those already, you're going to be getting them soon. But yeah, it's just like 3 or 4 sentences on who you are, who your brand is, what you guys do. You will always include your website in those. And I also like to include social media links in those. Yeah. And then you wrap it up, you put your media contact name. I know that a lot of you guys probably will be your own PR people maybe. So put your name in there. It does not have to be a PR person that this is from. With press releases, I like to keep them to 1 page unless it's really something special I'm talking about. Like if I'm talking about research, sometimes that takes a little bit to write up. Otherwise, try to keep it to 1 page. Again, journalists are busy. They want to read this quickly. You can absolutely put images and graphics in the body of your press release. In fact, I urge you to do that. If you do that, though, also put a link in the press release to where the images are. I usually use a Google Doc for that. And I also put the link in the body of the email whenever I send the press release. Because they're going to want to be able to access those images or graphics quickly, and they probably don't want to bug you, and you might not want to be bugged yourself. So just go ahead and put it all in there so that everyone has it. And then I do also, speaking of how to send it, I like to copy the press release in the body of an email, obviously, write, a hello, all that sort of thing, put the press release in. But then I also like to attach the press release too. Again, I always go a little bit overboard with everything I do. So I like to have all the ways of communication. But those are the ways that several journalists have told me over the years that they like to receive a press release. Again, press releases are not dead. They just have really evolved. If you're more comfortable making a video than doing a full press release, you can certainly write like an intro, put a link to your video, and then put your boilerplate and your information. It doesn't have to be so text heavy if you're more comfortable with video, which I would imagine a lot of you guys probably do, like reels and stories and stuff. So video might be more comfortable for you, and that's completely fine. So once you have that press release written, who do you send it to and why are you sending it to them? So obviously we just heard from two fantastic trade magazines that back was with Skin Authority. I was fortunate enough to work with them a lot. So your trades are super important. And again, you have two of the best ones right there. So get it out to trade media, your local media. So, where you live, it's important that everyone in the town knows about you because those are going to be your customers. Most likely you're going to open a skincare center, you're going to work at a day spa, those sorts of things. Those people locally are your customers. So try to get this in the local newspaper. If there's TV stations in your city, try to come on there as a guest. Local websites, local blogs, local magazines. So again, think local, local, local. Regional, depending on where you live and how big your reach is. And then if you have something really amazing, you can pitch nationally. I only really recommend pitching nationally if you do have something that's truly groundbreaking. And then also, I never pitch my clients nationally until they have a nice bank of local and regional coverage, because a lot of journalists will, Google the brands and stuff, and they're going to see that they have been covered and that they're legitimate. So again, really try to start out locally and then build on that. If you're pitching to TV, usually you'll pitch to a reporter or a producer or a booker. Bookers are the people who book for the in studio segments. So like a lot of TV stations have like a morning show or a noon show where they have local guests on. That is a wonderful opportunity for you guys. And again, typically the person who books those is called a booker or a producer. So how are you going to find these people? I pay a whole lot for an amazing subscription-based website that gives them all of my name that I get all their names from. For you guys, locally, read all the newspapers, read all your magazines. The names are in there. For TV, it's a little bit harder. I'm just going to be honest with you. Sometimes you can achieve it by simply calling the station and asking to speak with the producer of the noon news. A lot of times TV stations now have their staff listed in their website. Check for that. And the majority of reporters and anchors now they're all over social media because they're required to be. So follow them, engage with them, retweet their tweets. Well, no, it's not Twitter anymore, but X's and Instagram. A lot of them are on social and they're very active on it. So again, and I know that was mentioned earlier, to really engage on social media, and that is so true. When you're pitching to print, you're going to pitch to usually the editor, which again, you just heard from those two ladies. Also, I pitch to a lot of freelance writers. So a freelance, I don't know if you guys know what that is. They're often called a freelancer, but they're not actually on staff at the magazine, but they write for several magazines. And when you find the right freelancers to work with, you can really get a lot of stories out of them because they're paid by the stories that they land, and then you want that coverage. So it's a beautiful relationship. So I encourage you to get to know freelance writers. Again, that can be kind of challenging. Locally, a good way is just to network. you know, join women's groups, join business groups, ask your friends, hey, do you know any writers that here in town? And you'll be surprised, a lot of people really, really do, and they'll connect you with them. And then also influencers, which I'm sure you guys have worked with influencers, want to work with influencers. And I'm sure you guys are also influencers in your market. A lot of skincare people are absolutely influencers. So the way that I work with influencers is typically through events. So when there's a launch, when there's a new spa, that sort of thing, I invite all my influencer contacts, and it's great to have them there because they're the ones that are going to post immediately. They're going to have the great pictures, they're going to tag, they're going to do all those things. Whereas it's great to have the journalists there as well, but their story's probably not going to come out for several days. So those influencers give you that instant, like, oh gosh, this was a great event. We had a lot of people there. And it spreads your message throughout the community. So I love working with influencers. I also will offer influencers comped treatments. Obviously, not every influencer, but your top 3 to 5, because I know it's expensive to give a treatment away. But just, you can form a relationship beforehand with them, of, hey, I'm willing to give you XX treatment in exchange for a story, in exchange for a reel, that sort of thing. But just be clear with them. The times when I've seen it not work is when people just weren't clear with each other. Because typically, if you have a good relationship with an influencer, they will absolutely be willing to work with you. They're also great to test products. So if any of you guys have made your own skincare lines, or if you're representing Murad or whomever, they're great to test products out on. Influencers are, and they love to test them. They typically get a lot of products sent to them. So again, just make sure you're working with the right influencer who's going to reach your audience. And influencers can be local too. I mean, I work with a lot of influencers here in Louisville, but then I work with ones that represent the whole state. But then I also work with ones by niche, such as skincare, spa, that sort of thing.
Mhm.
Again, you can find those by following them. I mean,
Right.
I'm sure you guys follow a lot of influencers on social. Engage with them. Start,
Mhm.
comment, share, maybe send in a DM. I wouldn't send a DM off the bat though. Do some liking, do some commenting,
Mhm.
start establishing that relationship before you slide into their DMs, because that
Mhm.
can be very irritating. But yeah, that's kind of how it works. But just again, you can use that template release. It's easier than you think it's going to be. And again, just really be out in your community, getting to know people and asking, who works at the TV station and that sort of thing.
Thank you, Deborah. There's a couple things there. The last thing you mentioned about engagement, for me, when I knew nothing about skincare and I first got into this industry, like one of my jobs, me and Jennifer, creator of the Skin Games, and she would say, Stephen, just start engaging, right? And I
Yeah.
was like, okay. So I would like posts and comment, and then slowly but surely I got to know people, and they got
Hmm.
to know me really well. And then, like you said, we're on this name by name, first name basis,
Yep.
and they're sponsoring the event, and they've been, we become friends. And so, yes, that engagement, like slowly but surely, like you said, like a subtle, just like I notice on our back end for for the Skin Games, I see like, I've been seeing this person like us a lot. I better shoot them a like, hey, why aren't they part of the Skin Games? Why aren't they,
Yes.
So yeah, we notice on our end, and so I know that that must be true for media outlets as well, and to get the word out. I want to shout out Kentucky. I want you to know that we have players and representatives from all over the world at the
Great.
Skin Games, not just the LAs and the Atlantas. It's an international competition, and actually our Brazilian Wax Artist of the Year a couple of years ago, she was from Kentucky, believe it or not. So
We have some
yes,
great waxers in Kentucky.
yeah. See,
Personally, I
so
think mine is the best in the state. So
we'll send her to the Skin Games. We'd love to see her. We'd love to meet her. Yeah, and then just wanted to say, guys, again, Deborah, we did drop her document in the comments here, so I would love for all of you to make sure you go check out that document if you haven't already. Taylor did drop it there. We've been talking with Deborah Locker Griffin, president of the Deborah Locker Group. A bunch of great information there, Deborah. We want to thank you for your time tonight, and I hope to stay in touch.
of course, absolutely.
Thank you so much, Deborah. All right, everyone, on to the next speaker. This has been awesome so far. I hope you guys are enjoying yourselves. I see a lot of interaction and a lot of engagement down in the chat. As those comments come in, Taylor and I are both on our end looking at them and trying to comment back on some of them. I saw a great question earlier from Keisha pop up about, do we pay for this sort of a thing? Do we pay for a press release and things like that? So if there are, if that advice is available, we may be able to circle back and ask some of our next guests about that. I thought that was a really great question, Keisha. Keep the questions coming, guys. Our next guest is Meg O'Brien. Meg is the founder of the SD Content Club and Waxers Content Club. She will be talking with us tonight, and she has helped thousands of estheticians embrace emotion-focused marketing and visibility. She'll show us how to repurpose press so that it continues to work for you and how to confidently share your wins in the business, in your life, in the industry. So I will now introduce and have Meg come on and take the stage. Thank you for joining us tonight, Meg.
No, thank you so much for having me. I am so excited to chat with everyone because we're talking about press here, and what's amazing about press is it opens up the opportunity for you guys for so many opportunities, and I'm going to share with you how you can use your social media to harness those opportunities. So if you don't know me, my name is Megan, or Meg. I'm the founder of Marketing with Meg. I live in Vancouver, not Canada, not US. I'm up north. In 2021, I created, yes, the SD Content Club and the Waxers Content Club. They are the marketing memberships for estheticians and waxers who are looking for monthly content, live support, and strategy calls. My goal is always to help estheticians, skincare pros see the power of social media for creating opportunity and achieving business goals. I've been lucky enough to be written for or been featured in publications such as Dermoscope. Thank you guys so much. You did nominate the SD Content Club for one of the best subscriptions in the 2025 Dermoscope Awards. And I've also written for Les Nouvelles Esthétiques and Skin Inc. So the importance of a press release and building a strong brand. Press releases, as we know, they equal visibility. Visibility equals authority, which equals trust, which equals bookings and more opportunities. Trust is at the forefront of all decision making, whether that's to learn from you, to book from you, to buy from you, or to partner with you for future projects. So in the world of social media, there's literally endless opportunities at our fingertips. You honestly have no idea who's watching. And I know a lot of estheticians think, oh, I'm just sharing to my local community, but you really have no idea who's watching. You have no idea how fast the ball can start rolling on your online community. You could grow a really big following. You could start partnering with massive brands, and all these dream opportunities that you never even thought could be yours will just show up on your doorstep. And that's truly the power of social media. So, as I said, one feature equals ongoing visibility. Ongoing visibility equals ongoing trust building. So when it comes to social media, we all know that we need to share our message often. You guys probably hear this all the time. I know I'm sharing this to my feed all the time. I'm like, guys, share your message, share your posts. We have to share, because we all have the attention spans of like squirrels now because we're on our social media so much. We really have to share our message a lot for it to really sink in with the viewer. So this philosophy is exactly the same when it comes to our accomplishments. And I know so many business owners, we shy away, and a lot of estheticians, they focus more of the spotlight on their clients and their work, which is amazing, but you also need to bring the spotlight back onto you. So it's not bragging, it's business. So sharing press is not self-centered. It's client-centered because you're showing credibility, trust, and results. I want you guys to think of it as an investment in your future. So here's an example of how to, when you want to repurpose your press, I want you to consider the long form posting platforms, such as your website, such as things as creating a blog linking to the press release, or add to your press page with a link that will link back to the blog or the press release itself. When you're writing future blogs, always think to yourself, how can I link back strategically to my press page occasionally? So you want to consider when someone's on your website and they're reading your blog, where do you want them to go next? Or what page can you link to? It could be your press page that will help build your credibility with this viewer. And then, of course, we're going to talk about the short form post platforms, such as social media, such as posting a story thanking the outlet, where you then use the link sticker to draw back to the blog on your website. then of course I want you guys to save that story to a press story highlight. Highlights are so, so key because it allows us to keep those spotlight moments. I'm sure you're all used to having a results highlight on your Instagram profile, but I want you to create a press highlight. I want you to create a wins highlight that showcases your wins, because you guys are also such amazing business owners and you want to have a space where you're showing your client results, but also your professional wins. You could share a post to your feed. Perhaps the call to action is to read in full via the link in bio, something like that. And then, of course, you can pin to your feed. We're so lucky with platforms such as Instagram, where we can pin a post to our feed. So if you have something you're very proud of, definitely pin that post to the top of your feed so that anyone coming by through your social media, they will see that major accomplishment right there. And of course, we always want to be sharing this to our newsletter. I share to estheticians all the time, like, your newsletter is the only place you're not really fighting with an algorithm to share your message. And it's a really good idea to always be growing your email list so that when opportunities come around or big accomplishments come around that you want to share, you can share those to your clients or soon to be clients who are on your email list. And of course, I want you to add, like I said, like an as seen in or a press page on your website, or a story highlight. And then drawing back for when you are actually on your blog. So when you're writing blogs, always think to yourself, because so much of what I teach is a lot about marketing is you're sharing messages around the same, you're talking about skincare from different angles. So the same thing is true when it comes to writing blogs. So perhaps you have a really big accomplishment or you were featured in this press outlet and you want to share that. You can share that from various different angles, and that will give you multiple blog articles about that accomplishment. Don't think that just because you've shared it once, you can't share it again. I'm really, really big on helping estheticians. I say, I want to help you guys enter your braggy eras because, like I said, you're so used to having the spotlight be on your clients, but I want you to get comfortable putting it on yourself as well. So when it comes to sharing press, the way that you frame it really, really matters, just as much as the feature itself. So instead of defaulting, say you're going to put it on your Instagram story. I don't want you to put it up there and be like, oh, I'm so grateful, or, oh, in case you missed this, I got featured in XYZ. I want you to come about it in a much more confident manner. So I actually created a worksheet that can be shared. And also, side note, I can share you guys the slides from the slideshow so you don't feel like you have to take notes or anything right now. But in this worksheet, I outlined some more like emotional ways and emotional angles we can share our accomplishments. So we're not just like putting up a story saying like, oh, I'm so grateful, or, oh, you might have missed this. They're angles that allow us to kind of sit in our confident spotlight and share them confidently. So these approaches, like I said, they shift your message from a one-time announcement into a confident narrative that shows your expertise, connects with your clients, and positions you as a leader in your community. There's been a lot of chat throughout this evening talking about like your local community, and I'm really big on, because I get a lot of estheticians asking me like, oh, I want to do these massive, I have all these massive goals. I want to partner with this massive business. And I'm like, well, what about your local town? What are you doing in your town? Because I think you should start in your town first, become the the skincare expert in your town, and then expand from there. So like, I don't want you guys, when you're sharing them to your Instagram, I don't want you to be like, I'm so grateful for this feature. Instead, I want you to say something like, being featured in X press outlet gave me the chance to share how I help my clients achieve XYZ, right? You're like, I'm owning this, right? It's not like a mistake or just like a whoops that I got given that opportunity. No, it wasn't. You worked extremely hard to get that opportunity, and you want to share that confidently. So the old strategy is leading with text such as, I don't usually share things like this, or here's just a small shout out or something like that. I want you to embrace your emotional angles. So something personal, like, I love this feature in press outlet because it highlights why I care so deeply about helping clients achieve XYZ. Or you could focus more on your credibility, and it's more authority driven. So that would look like something like, being recognized by X press outlet confirms what I've seen with clients for years about so-and-so treatment approach and what it really delivers. You could shift it more like problem solving, where you say something like, in this announcement, I talked about how to overcome a specific skin issue because no one should feel stuck without answers. Or you could focus more emotionally, where you say something like, in this press release, I shared why skincare isn't just about clear skin, it's about confidence. And then finally, value driven, where you say something like, not everyone gets recognized in press outlet name, and it's a reminder that consistent care pays off. Don't wait to start your journey. So I do hope that you have the worksheet and
Yeah.
you can use that. And you guys, like I said, I'll share the slides with you because I know when I talk social media in these speaking opportunities, like I want you guys to have the worksheet. So actually, when it comes down to creating content, that you have it with you, because I know
Yeah,
it's such a different ball game than what I'm just
Meg,
talking.
Taylor did put the worksheet into the chat, everybody. So make sure you
Perfect.
take a look at the worksheet. The presentation was very good. I wanted to say two things that I really like that you said. One, it's not about bragging, right? It's about business. And
No,
one thing
it's
that that I love about that, Meg, is that in the skin games and in this industry, I feel like there's so many like estheticians are total like people pleasers. They love to make other
yes,
people feel good. And that's
yeah,
why they're in the business. And sometimes I feel like they forget to like put they're scared to put the shine the light on themselves, or they've never had that happen before. So there were some really good
yeah,
tips in there about how to not braggadociously but like pridefully, like take pride in what you've
yeah.
accomplished rather than being like timid and meek and acting like you didn't deserve it, because you totally do. You guys work so hard in this industry, and I think that's really
Mhm,
big. And the other thing was that I was going to ask, and I meant to ask some of the others, was in the age of AI
mhm,
right now, like you're seeing a lot of AI driven stuff. And when somebody produces something that's AI, I can't always tell, but like we've all gotten those emails where it's like, I hope this letter finds you well. Like that's the first, you know, that
mhm.
that was AI produced, right? Because of that, like all AI, like the, is it more beneficial now to utilize AI or to write something that's more personal and then take it and re-edit it and get people's like the old-fashioned form of writing? Like I'm not even that old. I'm only 39, but I grew up in like you had to submit your paper and then you'd go revise it, you know, and now we have AI where you plug it in and you go, hey, AI, can you make this more flashy for me? Can you make this more intriguing? Is that something that you notice or that people even notice anymore, or is it a thing of the past to sort of write it your own way in your own voice?
It's okay. So I'm going to focus on the social media side. I don't want us to get comfortable using AI. I think I don't want us to become reliant on AI. I don't think AI is going anywhere. I think there's a really
Right,
big risk of you leaning too far into it and losing that skill set of writing. Literally, I feel like we're all at this risk.
right,
No, Kitty and Dorian will probably have a lot more to chat about this for like publications. Like if you're writing an article, I would know, please don't use AI. Like, I don't know, but I don't know if you guys have
right,
rules against that. Like the way I use AI for my business is I do always do like the first, second drafts myself because
right.
I want my personality to come across. And I know it's like, oh,
Exactly,
you can train your AI to have your personality. And
exactly.
you probably can. Honestly, you
Yeah,
probably can. But I think in just right now, I think there's use it to like refine. Don't let it like it just like sometimes smooths out too much of like what makes you you. I find you almost I don't know. And then we could probably have a whole call on AI, honestly, because
right,
it's such
right.
a large
It's just
topic.
something I keep thinking about, and everything that you
Mhm.
all said so far is like, I feel very strongly that when I write something or when I talk, I want it to be me. I want it to be my
Yeah.
heart. I want it to be my personality. And so sometimes, like I go to a lot of skincare shows, and I go to a lot of places where people give speeches and pitches. And sometimes I hear them, and I'm like, this doesn't even sound like this person at all, and it kind of makes me shut down. And I'm just admitting this out. We're like, you
Mhm.
know, I'm just saying, like, I'd much rather hear somebody not speak super eloquently and well, and it still come off as them and genuine and emotional and personal, rather than, like I said, good day. I'm glad this message I hope
Yeah.
this message finds you well. We'd love to, you know, like it's so formal. And then, like you said, the scary thing about AI now is you can train it to do all these things. And I think so many people now are plugging and playing and going, let me plug this into AI a bunch of different ways and see which one sounds the best. But I guess I'm a little nostalgic of the days when you used to write something and then you
Oh,
go
yeah.
edit it and go have someone proofread it and then and that sort of a thing. But with AI, I think it's sort of changed the game a little bit. And I have seen a lot of feedback down there, and I'd love to hear more feedback on that, Megan. So that just came to mind. So I appreciate you touching
Yeah, we can
on.
talk more about it in the Q&A for sure. I'd love to hear what other estheticians have to say as well, because honestly, when it comes to estheticians, it's like time, right? Like they're in the treatment
Right.
room and their social media, and then it's like, oh,
Right.
well, of course I'll use AI because it'll save me time. But
Right.
then you're training your AI, you're writing an emailer, and you have to go back with these revisions because it's not sounding like you. And it's like, would it have been shorter if I had just written it myself? You
Mhm.
know, there's like so many different. It's a really interesting topic.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I do want to thank you, Meg, for your time tonight. We do have to get on to our final guest.
Oh, yeah,
This
sorry.
Meg O'Brien, everyone, founder of SD Content Club and Waxers Content Club. Thank you. And the document is in the chat for what Meg presented tonight. We will be on to our final speaker of the night, Robin Newmark. Robin has been with the Skin Games for a number of years. She is a publisher at Beauty Guru magazine. Robin has been to a number of different Skin Games events. We've been friends and partners with Robin for a long time. And I believe Robin's in a different part of the world right now. So I appreciate her joining us. Robin, it will be our final speaker. I've already mentioned Beauty Guru magazine. She's a champion of beauty professionals. Through her work as a publisher, she'll share a clear 10-step roadmap for how estheticians can secure coverage in local press and get their stories heard in their community. So Robin, good to see you again. Glad you've made it. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Sorry if I'm going to be a little quiet because it's late. I'm in Europe and it's like 2 a.m. So,
Thank you so
can you
much for,
guys,
yes.
can you hear me okay? Because I have my earphones on, but there's like some, can you,
Yes, we can. Can you hear me,
okay,
Robin?
good. Yeah, everything's good.
Okay.
Okay, great. So yeah, I get to live the incredible life of being a beauty professional. I've been a celebrity esthetician for 20 years, and now I have the privilege of writing and being a beauty director for beauty brands, companies, celebrities. Obviously, I worked with celebrities as a beauty professional for a long time, and now I actually get to kind of work on the media and PR side of things. So, as a beauty director for Gurus Magazine, Los Angeles Inquisitor, several other magazines, Beauty Guru Magazine, there's when you look at media, we have to look at it as an investment in ourselves, right? So it's and there's always a time and a place for it, right? It comes in a very specific time in the business when you are ready for this next step, right? It's like you can't put the paint on the walls before you've built the house and different things. So it's really important to know, like, you can actually waste media, right? You can actually waste like these efforts when there are certain things in place. So the first thing is like when you're looking at media, just understand that this is an investment and it comes at a certain time in your business when you have a few things set in place. And there's lots of different approaches, right? You guys were talking about AI. Time and a place to use AI. We definitely use AI in our magazines for different things, but that being said, we follow three rules: truth, passion, and authenticity. And so the base of the article definitely has to stem from you as a person. And what's important is that your story, and what does really well in the media is founder stories, right? Like, what is your authentic story, right? You don't have to, go pick some cause that's like super virtuous. Like, if it doesn't align with you, it has to be something that's truly in alignment with your brand, that's, with all of these things, right? Like, for instance, I like clean skincare, but I'm not necessarily like an organic skincare girl, right? Like, I'm medical grade. Like, not all organic is necessarily good, right? So it's like, I know like what my niche is, and I know that other people like really just love to go like the all organic, supernatural, stuff. So it's like I'm very clear with who I am, what my brand story is, and who I am as a founder. So one thing is to know when you're ready for social media, and that and what it's for. So media is for a few things, right? It is to establish credibility, right? You want to establish credibility when that time is right for your business. So also to reach your niche, right? If you have a certain niche that you're working toward, then you want to go to the publications that are easily reaching your niches, or podcasters, or different you know, media outlets that are reaching your niche, right? Be very specific. I don't do acne. I work with aging women, right? Aging women. It's like, it's very specific. So it's like, I don't need to go work with kids. I don't need to market to kids. I don't need to, I need to market to like aging women. And so I pick these outlets of aging women, right? Celebrities work great for me because they want to look young all the time, and they're definitely aging. So picking that niche and being very specific, because you're not for everyone and you shouldn't be. So establishing your credibility and reaching your niche. Number three, you have to have a call to action, right? If you are just there to a call to action that leads to a sale, or else you're just wasting your effort. Honestly, like it like save your time and energy. Call to action, something to sell, because this isn't just about like you looking good, right? It's like, or else like people don't really need to know who you are if you don't have anything to sell, right? Or if you don't have your spa or an establishment or something ready to go, right? So again, like you want to have like certain things that are really important. When you're not ready for media is when you can't articulate what your brand story is, when you just like simply want to look big, and when you're unwilling to invest in the time and resources that it takes. Because first of all, there's a few ways to get media. I'm going to share with you guys a PDF on how to get free media. But the truth is, most people pay for media. And there really is no such thing as free media, because the amount of time that it's going to take for you to call this journalist, pitch, write your story, we're talking 10, 20, 30, 40, 100 hours of like, making these investments until things start popping. So I just like to be clear to everybody that there's no such thing in free media. So when you're about to put your effort into your pitch, make sure you have that sales funnel ready to go with a call to action to actually make your sales. Because if you can't articulate what your brand story is, what your product is, and you just want to look big, you're completely wasting your time, right? So make sure that you've articulated a few things. One of the biggest reasons why we turn away, smaller companies is in media, is because number one, they haven't really established a good digital presence. If you do not have a digital presence, don't invest in media, because it's like, why they can't find you. Like, and don't just send them to a Facebook page, guys. That's not good enough. It's absolutely not good enough. It looks totally amateur. Get your website up, go pay for photos, get yourself looking right. Do not always wear scrubs. Put yourself in a blazer and look like a businesswoman, because how you present yourself to the world and how you articulate your founder story, your brand story, how you're representing the charity or the cause that you want is really important. So number one, before you even think about investing in media, have you invested in, the floors and the walls before you put the paint on, right? Media is literally like the last step when the machine is built. Okay, so take the time to like make these investments, right? And get it right, because there really is no free media, right? There's no free award. You have to position yourself, in a way that people see you, but that is definitely time and an investment, right? For those of you that have won a Skin Games award, did that come free? It took time, investment, case studies, You had to position yourself into a place for people to see you and then vote for you. Like it didn't come free, right? You really had to like put your best foot forward, and you had the machine built, and then it was time for you to step out. So make sure that you have that thing. And those of you that have spas and you have your solo careers, or you have a skincare brand, or you want something, that is like the media is like the gas in the tank when the machine is built. So make sure, number one, that you have all these other assets built, and you know what your brand story is, you can articulate what your niche is, and you have a clear and definitive way to make sales. The other thing that media is for now, because back in the day, everything was print, but nobody sees people printed on a magazine anymore unless you're like walking through the airport and you're like, okay, great. Like I need to get that. Like it's all digital, right? So for us, like when we're putting people in the media for our magazines, we have a big press package, and this is all paid media. And guys, listen, you you can do all your own writing and do press releases, but you can also just go pay for media too when the time is right. I mean, if you've got your med spa and you've got a product and you're established and you've got your photos and you're ready to go, like then I would suggest, going and looking also at some paid media outlets, or then yes, doing your investment in the skin game and doing those things that bring things forward, right? Reaching out to those resources. But the biggest thing is to drive SEO, and now even more so with the new Google AI summaries. Google AI and is going to generate a story or not generate a story about you, like, right? So what's helpful now is, the reason why you want to have several pieces of press out there is so that all of that is backlinking to your website, right? And building your SEO. And now with Google, what we specialize is in our, for our bigger brands. And like we work with Dr. Pimple Popper, Lifetime, different, that's probably one of our biggest right now. But, we want to make sure that when people are Googling her, like the AI summary that's being generated, because now when you search things, it used to just bring you a link, but now AI just like tells you a little bit, gives you a little brief thing about what's happening. So, the whole purpose is to let Google learn who you are and what you are. And by putting your narrative, and it can literally be the same narrative all over, but controlled, you're going to have Google generate that summary about you that all links back to your websites. So, let's see, I might turn my camera off, because in order to go through this little list of the 10 free things, I'm just gonna look at something. So I'm probably gonna go off the screen.
You can go request to share her
You
screen.
can request to share your screen if you want to, Robin.
And you can keep your camera on while you do.
Oh, I can? Okay, let's
Yeah,
see.
I think Taylor enabled you to be able to share your screen if you want.
Okay, let's see.
Yes. I see that she made you co-host there.
Okay, great.
Yes,
Let's see.
there we go.
Let me try to get. Okay, so some ways to get free press. I talked a little bit about there's no free press. So just make sure that you have the time and everything invested properly. And, all the other ladies made really good points about, I love what, sorry, I forget her name, but the speaker before us talking about
Yeah.
Meg, thank you, Meg. She was talking about like once you have the press, all these other ways to like give it more legs, which is really important. Is like once you've invested in the press and it's now like on the site, there's a link, people can go to it. Like you have to give it legs because like, trust me, you don't get sales by just like you showing up in a magazine one day and then like a bunch of people go to it. Like this is a process. It's an investment that keeps getting built online through, you know, generating your SEO stories. So, but the speakers before touched on this is building relationships with local journalists. That's always a really good thing. Local magazines, regional newspapers, TV and radio, you know, write them a little short story about who you are. They love a story. They love a founder story. They love, you know, a cause. So do that. Be active in local Facebook groups and business communities. I think that's really important because like, you know, for instance, my spa was the number one spa recommended on what's that called? Like neighborhood or next door, right? I get this thing that like I was mentioned, like my spa was mentioned on next door, like, and they sent me this little plaque or whatever for 2025. And, you know, so little things like that, that like I didn't even expect. It's just like people talking about. So like get on those networks, have your estheticians get on those networks and like recommend each other themselves, like, you know, have people recommend on Nextdoor. And those are little ways that you can get really active. Local groups for entrepreneurs, communities, networking, chamber of commerce. Those are always really good. The chamber. And then like every little town has a networking group or a little women's group. So maybe even volunteer if you have your own location. Like I volunteer to host a women's networking group every month. So I literally have 30 women a month coming to my spa to drink champagne. So you guys like position yourself in a way that actually gets people to your location. If you have the real estate, bring them there. Pitch your story to a local TV station. If you have something really great, that's awesome. Go ahead and pitch your story. One way that you can get on TV is doing charitable causes, right? Like, so for instance, I'm an LA native. So when the LA fires hit, you know, my spa isn't too far away. And we did a big thing for the LA fires. And the Palm Springs area had picked up that my location was going to be a donation center and then asked me to come to the network and make the announcement on TV and do all the things. So like I was not even expecting that. But these are all ways like when you can see that community action has to take place, you know, do things like that and then position yourself, you know, to be the face and get on television and you know, help a cause. So that's always a good way to get seen locally. And honestly, for some of you guys, local may be all that matters, right? Like if you just have a local spa, the best thing you could do is be famous in your own community, right? I mean, unless you have a skincare brand or like a global brand that you need to go nationwide with, or you're a coach or you sell classes, like not all of you need to go nationwide. So this is going to be very easy for some of you to just like get into some of your local sizzle. And then once you are, it kind of starts to build momentum and you build relationships with the local magazines and things like that. Partner with nonprofits. That's super important. One of the things we did for the fire was partner with Habitat for Humanity. So that was an easy thing. And it's also well known. So that was a way that I was able to position for community action, charitable causes, and stuff like that. Those things can be very distracting though. So gosh, I don't want to do that again for a really long time. I hope there's nothing like that. But yeah, write an article or a local blog and have like a guest column, right? So those are also really cool where you can like pitch guests and different things. Also like top 3 mistakes that women make over 40. A headline is always really good, something that's super catchy that'll always kind of get you in the headlines, or if you're doing something really unique, like say maybe you do scalp treatments or you like regenerate hair, you can have like a great headline, you know, so and so's like growing hair, you know, different things like that. But having that headline be a good grab is big. Get featured in community spotlights. So reach out to women to watch local heroes, business spotlights, columns, right? Provide your story, photo, and brand mission. So there's a woman who has this little blog in our community, and it's called Women to Know in the Desert. And like, so I just invited her to come to my spa. Or the influencers are great because you can get certain things out of them. I have them sign an influencer agreement in which they deliver like 7 things, which is a Yelp review, a Google review, a post, a story. They have to allow me to use before and after pictures, and I get a written testimony or something like that. Like I have a whole list of things. So even though I'm giving away a free treatment, like I am making them deliver, you know, as an influencer, some of these things before they even leave, and make them sign a contract for that. Even your friends, make them do it. I'm telling you, make your friends sign an influencer agreement if they're going to get free treatments, because it just really positions you in a way that, okay, this is serious. I need you to do this. Like, you have to deliver on this, or I'm not going to do the treatment. And like, I make it very, very clear, like, I'm not going to do the treatment if like you don't deliver these things. So, and that's okay to do that. It actually helps them respect you a little bit more. And then you don't waste your time giving away free shit. Let's see, host local workshops or open houses. Yes, hosting anything. If you're in a position to host at your location and you have a nice space, like host as many things as you can, because it just gets women on site, right? And that's kind of the biggest thing, is like a lot of people are going to come and be like, and say, oh, I didn't even know you were here. So that's good. Press release, service, local targeting, yeah, announce new services, launches, and outlets in different outlets. So that's always good. Like if you have a new type of service, like maybe you're the first one in the desert to, you know, do cool sculpting or do whatever. I'm just using an example. But something like that, maybe if there's something new that's out, you'll be the first. Tag local outlets and social media, always tag people, always invite people to be collaborators. And then leverage awards, right? Like try to leverage as many awards and different things as you can. Usually there's lots of different things that you can submit to. Sometimes these awards, like an application fee is maybe like $45 to $75. Like, listen, it's worth the investment if you win, or can at least be nominated to win. And then you can rally your community and things like that. Also, usually like a lot of towns or local magazines will do like, you know, fabulous under 40 or fabulous under 30 or fabulous over 40, or like any of those lists, like get on that. Those are really good ones for any category that you fit into. So try that. But more importantly, I think just have your brand story and your sales funnel really clear. And once you feel like that whole part of the machine is built, then the media is just time and effort, and it's just getting things into the funnel. And sometimes conversations are going to be weeks of conversations before you like land something, right? So even though I've given you a list of 10 things that you can do to get free media, it's still going to take some time and effort. And that's all I got for you today. Any questions?
Robin, that's not all you got. That was awesome. That was a lot.
Yeah.
And we want to thank you for that. That was an amazing checklist there. And I want to encourage you, Robin, if you don't mind sending that to Taylor so that we can share that when we go and
Yes.
post this and repost it. We've had some of our other panelists actually send in those documents, and I know people would love to see that.
That's
I do
great.
want to thank you. We are almost out of time tonight, guys. We're into our last few minutes. And like I said, I'm the type to to honor your time and start on time and end on time. So we only have a few minutes left. With that being said, I want to thank our panelists tonight, Dorian, Kitty, Deborah, Meg, and Robin. This was some priceless information, some stuff that was really, really beneficial for our audience. And can you make me the main? I'm not.
Can
And I
I
want
do
to.
one more plug real quick?
Of course,
Just
Robin, please. Of course,
yeah,
go.
just really quick for those of you that want to learn more about media, I have a course coming up called Media Magnetism. Please go to my Facebook page and follow me at Newmark Beauty Pro. And you can DM me Media Magnetism. And when the course is released, then I will reach out to you with those resources on how to really move forward with your brand.
And I want to make sure you guys know that Taylor will include the tags and how to get a hold of each one of our panelists as well. This is recorded. It will be republished in our blog and in our website as well. The recording and the toolkit will be sent to everybody who RSVP to this. I do want to remind you guys all one more time, please text JOIN to 833-344-1998 if you guys want to receive our Skin Games updates. I just want to remind you all one more time. First of all, you've invested in yourselves being here. I think at one time we had up to almost 60 people in here tonight. You've invested in, Robin touched on this, like the amount of time that you guys, time is money, right? And the amount of time you guys put into your case studies and in your business, that's money, right? And nothing is technical. Like we all say, oh, it's free. Things aren't like, right? We put our time and energy and our blood and sweat and tears into all this stuff. So consider that when you're putting your time into this, into these press releases and this marketing stuff. Invest in yourself and take pride in it and be your authentic self. At the Skin Games, obviously, guys, we believe that every beauty professional has a strong story worth sharing. And tonight you've gained a lot of tools that will make sure your story is heard. So again, thank you, Dorian, Kitty, Deborah, Meg, and Robin for all of your input tonight. It was a fantastic roundtable. And for me, she's my wife. I want to thank Taylor. She did an amazing job putting these voices together and getting this roundtable together tonight. I'm grateful to be able to have helped you guys tonight and to have hosted it. And I look forward to seeing you guys soon. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure. Bye.
Bye, everybody.